Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Infernus, and welcome back to another comic book review. The subject of today's review will be the most recent addition to the MCU library, Agatha All Along. I think it's pretty safe to say that just about everyone wrote this show off when it was first announced. Agatha Harkness was a fun enough character and final antagonist in WandaVision, but she didn't seem like the character who would warrant her own show, let alone be able to carry one. That being said, I am willing to be proven wrong, and honestly, having seen the whole show, I can say that we didn't need this, but I am glad that we got it. What I'd say is one of the show's biggest strengths is its use of the setting of the Witch's Road. The Witch's Road, to my understanding, is this mystical path that grants those who walk it in its entirety their greatest desires, provided they endure some harrowing trials. And the nice thing about these trials is that that once the characters get on the road, they keep the show interesting. Each trial has something different about it. It has a different setting, different attire for the characters, a different type of magic that has to be used to solve it, whether it be earth magic or potions or tarot or um, I forgot this one in one of my previous takes, but Ouija board, and I guess there was also the music one. I don't really know what kind of magic that was, but either way, it made for a fun episode. And in universe, each trial is 30 minutes long, so it still has time to, you know, it still gives the audience time to spend time with the characters and get to know each of them and care for them, which is a good thing considering that just about everyone in the show who isn't Agatha is a new character. I guess Sharon is also not new, but she doesn't last long. But when it comes to everyone else, it's like the show knows that we've only just met these characters, so it gives us time to actually care for them. All the characters are also portrayed by very talented actors as well, but the one that I want to give the spotlight, uh, pun not so much intended, is Joe Locke, the guy who played Billy Maximoff or Billy Kaplan or Teen, whichever you want to call him. He has like 3 different names in here. Not only is he excellent at portraying the different emotions that Billy experiences throughout the show, but I was very surprised to find that his only other acting credits, at least on IMDb, are for Broadway productions. Now, of course, nothing wrong with Broadway, but that must be some confidence in an actor to, pluck them off the stage and have their first, film role be a Marvel movie. That's honest, although I guess that's not too surprising given that Marvel has had a very good track record when it comes to casting, mostly because their casting director is excellent. This is also a very visually pleasing show. Just the visuals look fantastic. From what I've heard, a lot of them are practical, which good. That's the better way to go. Obviously, there's some CGI involved for the magic, but the sets, the environments, it's all practical, and it looks all the better for it. It looks great. And the last positive I'll say before I get into the negatives, because I do have a bunch to go through, is that there are a lot of twists in this show that actually caught me off guard to an extent. I know there's one that would have caught me off guard if the merchandise hadn't spoiled it. Thanks for that, Funko. But there are others the like the origin of the Witch's Road, and yep, that's honestly the only one I can remember off the top of my head. But there are some really good ones in here, and honestly, the story in general for the show is probably one of its strongest aspects, aside from its characters and its visuals. Now, with all that being said, while I am more than happy to praise the show, there are some parts that I wasn't that big of a fan of. While I did like how creative each of the trials was, the first half of the show can get a little bit repetitive with how, they go to a trial, they complete the trial, and then they have some downtime afterwards. Not helping is that the first 2 episodes are, I'd say, definitely the show's weakest. The first episode's kind of interesting, but it's clearly there just so we can get Agatha out of the little personalized hex that Wanda put her in at the end of WandaVision. And then the second episode is getting the gang together, and then the third episode is when things really start to kick into gear. It's not a bad first two episodes, but it's very clearly not where where a lot of the effort was put in. Along with that, the Salem Seven, this band of witches that are out to kill Agatha for her centuries of worth of crimes. I like how they set them up, but I don't like what they do with them in the show. They feel very wasted. They're set up as these intimidating threats who are out to kill our main team because they're associated with Agatha Harkness, and they are actually kind of scary and legitimately intimidating. And then they just kill all of them off in one sweep at the end of episode 7, along with one of our main characters. It's a very good scene, but it also gets rid of something that I was actually interested in seeing the rest of the show play out. Another thing is that I'm not entirely sure how else they could have handled this, but placing Agatha's backstory in the last episode, it does feel kind of random, and also there just so episode 8 doesn't feel too long with all the information that they dump about the road. So maybe if they could have, but at the same time, it does feel random. So maybe if they could have like sprinkled little bits of it here and there, it could have been fine. Hell, they probably could have made this season 8 episodes as opposed to 9. But I can understand why they would put it in the 9th episode. My only other real issue is that my experience actually viewing the show compared to my experience reflecting on it is very different. While I was watching the show, my thoughts pretty much boiled down to, yeah, this is fine and all, but this probably isn't going to get reviewed very highly. This is just kind of uninteresting. And then the more I thought about it, the more, reviews I saw of it, my thoughts were more like, you know what? This was actually pretty good. I might actually give this a decent rating. It's just kind of weird. There are very few movies and TV shows that I've had that kind of, feeling about, where it was a lot better on reflection than actually reviewing it. I guess what I'd say is that the actual viewing experience is kind of mundane, but when you really think about it, really think about the pros and cons, seems a lot better. It just seems a lot better in memory than it actually was watching the show. It's not a very memorable experience, but just because something's not that memorable doesn't mean it's not good. And I would say overall that this show is very good. There's a lot of objectively good things about it. The characters are very, we get a lot of time to care about the characters. The actors give a good performance. The visuals look excellent. The trials themselves are very unique and interesting. And in general, the story is very well written with how things play out. It's just that the overall viewing experience might vary from person to person. That and there are a lot of smaller problems, but really the only one of them that I'd actually hold against the show is the way they handled the Salem 7. So with all that, mixing the good and the bad, that gives Agatha All Along a 3.5, which honestly, pretty good score compared to what I was originally going to give it, which was around a 2. So this definitely puts it on the higher end of Phase 5 television as of right now, because we're about to get a slew of content next year, which it's not as good as which I'd say it's not as good as Loki, but it is a lot better than both Echo and especially Secret Invasion. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for my review of Agatha All Along. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe for more fun content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, and Godspeed.